I'd like to welcome everybody. My name is Tommy Peterson. I'm with Intertribal Agriculture Council. I would like to welcome all of you to the second breakout session for the economic tracks. It is Farm Service Agency Disaster Programs, brought to you by Lisa Garay. She is USDA Farm Service Agency County Executive Director in New Mexico. Lisa is a native New Mexican. She grew up in the Hatch Valley and a proud graduate of New Mexico State. She has been with the Farm Service Agency for 10 years and the County Executive Director in Los Lunas for 9 years. I would like to give a big shout out to her for bringing this presentation. Also, I would like to give a big thank you to all of our sponsors of the IAC conference. This session is brought to you by our Champions of Native Agriculture sponsors. So,
are we ready?
Lisa? Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, greetings everybody from the land of enchantment. So I hope everybody is doing well and staying safe. I am a county executive director from New Mexico, working for the Farm Service Agency. So can everybody see my presentation? I'm gonna assume we're good to go. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. These are a few of the programs that I am going to cover today. NAP, which is our crop insurance, the livestock forage program, livestock indemnity program, emergency livestock assistance program, the coronavirus food assistance program, and talk a little bit about one of our websites, farmers.gov. So let's talk a little bit about USDA terms. And I think a lot of us that have been in the government setting, we do a lot of what we call alphabet soup. And we just assume that you all know what we're talking about when we start asking you these questions. So these are very important things for you to keep in mind, especially when you're applying with USDA programs. The term socially disadvantaged is going to include all minorities and women. So please keep that in mind if you do fall under that category. Limited resource is going to be a person with direct or indirect gross farm sales not more than 179,000. And that's going to be for fiscal year 2021, which is the fiscal year that we're currently in. And a person with a total household income at or below the national poverty level, or less than 50% of the county median household income in each of the previous 2 years. So, you know, if you're saying, I don't know if I qualify for that or not, we've got this nice website that's highlighted in blue that you can click on, and it's going to bring up, you're going to need to select the state that you're living in and then your county. You're going to need to answer a few questions, and then it's going to populate if you are eligible under the limited resource or not. So there's that option. And then the last is going to be our beginning farmer or rancher. And all that this is asking is basically to fall under that criteria. You can't have been farming or ranching for more than 10 years to qualify as a beginning farmer or rancher. So let's go ahead and dive right into our programs. The Non-Insured Crop Disaster Assistance Program, primarily referred to as NAP, or the Crop Insurance Program, provides financial assistance for non-insurable crop losses due to a natural disaster. You must be enrolled in the program before the growing season starts, and there is no fee for anybody that identifies as socially disadvantaged, limited resource, or beginning farmer or rancher. So the biggest thing that I harp on this program is, just like any other type of insurance, you've got to have the coverage before the disaster happens. So for NAP, we have the native grass and then all other crops. So the rules are just a little bit different for native grass, which is going to include your rangeland, which I think a lot of our ranchers are on this call today. So this is going to pertain to you. And then I will touch on all of the other crops for NAP. But for NAP, we provide compensation after a 50% loss. This is very important for our ranchers to understand that the first 50% of the loss is going to be on them. Then we will start kicking in financially after that. It is crop based, so people sometimes get confused, wanting, they might have lost livestock or things of that nature. NAP is not going to cover that. Think of it simply as a crop insurance. So we're just worried about the grass out there. We're not worried about the livestock on it, if there is livestock, just that you have control of the grass. So another question that always gets asked is, how do you determine the percentage of loss annually? And I know different states have different methods, so I'm just gonna talk about how we do it here in New Mexico. But typically what we do is we get our sister agency, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, and our County Extension Service that's based out of our state university, land grant university, and they come up with an assessment after the end of the grazing year. Now, in New Mexico, we graze 365 days a year. So for us, those assessments aren't even started until January, because we have to wait for the whole year to complete for them to do their assessment. So those usually filter out to us about February, and then we have to send them to our county committee. They send up a recommendation to our state committee, and state committee makes the final determination of percentage of loss each year. Now, like I said, this is an insurance program, and so you have to have the coverage before the disaster. So the deadline for NAP for native grass rangeland was December 1st of 2021, which was last Friday. Now, this is very important. The Farm Service Agency does have late file provisions. So for any of you ranchers out there, especially if you do qualify as socially disadvantaged, limited resource, beginning farmer or rancher, because there's no fee for you, I would highly recommend you contact your local farm service agency ASAP to see about still getting enrolled for the 2021 grazing year. So this is a copy of what's published every year, and each state, some states use rainfall data sources to come up with their percentage of losses. And like I said, each state does it differently. For us, we have started incorporating a rainfall, I don't know what you call it, system. And then we also do compare it to the loss assessments that we're getting in from our other sister agencies. So this is what it looks like. As you can see, this was published in March of this year of 2020. And it was March 12th of 2020 that this came out. And once this is published, that allows us to now start running out applications for payments. So I just wanted to bring this up and kind of give everybody a little bit of a reference how the program works. If you look at the central part of our state, Valencia, that's where my county office is located. Last year for 2019, it was assessed at a 55%, meaning that the rancher was only compensated for 5%. Because remember that the coverage doesn't start kicking in until after a 50% loss. So like I said, I just kind of wanted to reiterate that a little bit. So now we're going to talk about NAP for all other crops. And here we go again with my USDA terms. So if you did qualify under any of those 3 items that I went over before, the service fee of $325 is free to you. And then with that, you can buy up your coverage at 5% increments, and we cut the premium fee in half. So the way that the buy-up works is if you sign up for the basic coverage, which is free to socially disadvantaged folks, you're going to be what I was just saying. You got to sustain the first 50% of the loss, and then we can kick in, and you're going to be getting 55% of the market price. If you start to buy up, even if it's just at that 50%, the minute that you start to buy up, now you're going to be getting 100% of the market price. And there is a premium that you do have to pay. and it's assessed based on the crop and based on the number of acres that you're planting of that crop. And then also how high you want to buy up your coverage. So for you fruits and vegetable folks out there, if I have any out there, this is something really to consider, because those crops do tend to get a little bit costly to plant, and especially if you are close to harvest and you have a hailstorm or a freeze or something that could completely wipe out your crop. I would highly recommend you look into just even our catastrophic coverage, which is the 50% loss, 55% of the market price. So here are all of the crops that we do cover under the NAP blanket. And then these are all of the deadlines for the 2021 crop year. Now, as you can see, we've already passed the whole top row. Like I said, we do have late file provisions, but I believe they're just only on about a 30-day window. So those of you with grass, and that includes the rangeland, but also any of you that have got permanent pasture, growing maybe fescue grass for some horses or different types of livestock, that would also be included. Another big one that I have in my office is January 31st for the alfalfa, mixed forage, pecans. You know, New Mexico is #1 pecan producing state in the country now. So shout out here to my local farmers. And then peppers, New Mexico, that's what we're known for. That's one of our other big cash crops, red and green chili. So if you're growing any of these crops that are on here, you've got to get into your local FSA office before the deadline, get signed up for the coverage, depending on where you want to fall into, but it is very important. So this is where a lot of producers get hung up, and I get a lot of disappointed people because they kind of ignore the deadlines, the newsletters and things that we send out, and then they're calling me in the summertime during harvest, and they're wanting to know if there's anything I can do. And unfortunately, there's not. Like I said, it's like any other type of insurance. You've got to be enrolled before the disaster happens for us to be able to compensate you for it. So I'm going to move on to one of our other very popular programs, the livestock forage program. What this program does is it provides compensation for livestock feed losses due to drought conditions or fire on federally managed lands. The rancher must have owned the livestock 60 days prior to the county becoming eligible. The rancher must have a current permit, lease, or deed verifying the ranching operation. So we're just looking for control docs to make sure that you are eligible to be running out on this land, and at what time frame. Most of our grazing leases in New Mexico are for 365 days, but not all of them are. And I know I'm talking to people from multiple states. So we just need to make sure that it's okay for you to be running your livestock out on that area. The next thing is the county the livestock are grazing on must be in a D2 drought status for 8 weeks consecutively, according to the U.S. Drought Monitor. And lastly, most importantly, the deadline to apply for this program is January 30th of 2021. So here's a copy of the latest U.S. Drought Monitor. This is released every Thursday. You can go to this website listed at the bottom, droughtmonitor.unl.edu, and check the status. As you can see, New Mexico, we are in a very severe drought, and all of our counties are eligible for LFP, because if you look where the green arrow is at under the D2, your county's just got to be in that D2 for 8 weeks consecutively for this program to open up and make our producers eligible. So like I said, New Mexico, we're not looking too good. Every single county is eligible for this program for 2020. So here's another very important thing that I always get asked. People want to know how they're going to be getting compensated. And this is a really great chart that our national office had put out. And it just kind of explains the payment tiers and how they work. If your county is just in that very first D2 drought status, you're going to be eligible for one payment tier. If your county rolls into a D3 for 1 day, now you're going to be bumped up to a 3-tier payment. If it stays in that D3 for 4 non-consecutive weeks, you're automatically bumped up to a tier 4. Or if your county goes into the D4 exceptional drought, even just for 1 day, you're eligible for a tier 4. And if your county stays in that D4 for 4 weeks, it can be bouncing back and forth between a D3 and a D4. But if you're in a D4 for 4 weeks, now you're going to be at our maximum 5-tier payment. So, like I said, this kind of explains how the payment tiers work. The nice thing about LFP is if you come in and you apply when your county's, let's say, just at a tier 1, let's say back in March, that your county became eligible, you went and you applied. As the year progressed, the drought progressed, we'll automatically send you those monthly tier payments as you become eligible, as the county becomes eligible. You don't have to come back in. All of our payments are done direct deposit, so it will just be another deposit made to your account once your county's hit that eligible tier. So here's a map of our the nation and what states and counties are eligible for 2020 LFP. This map is updated coincidentally with the U.S. Drought Monitor. So because this program runs directly off of the Drought Monitor, as the county tiers change, this map is updated, I believe, every Thursday or Friday as well. So as you can see, the Southwest region, we are not looking very good. Most of our counties are in either a tier 4 or tier 5. Most people want to know what the compensation rate is looking like. So I have put on here an estimated payment rate per animal unit per payment tier. So, you know, just to kind of give everybody a little bit of an estimate of what they would be looking at when they come in to apply. All right, so now I'm going to jump into our livestock indemnity program. This is the program that compensates producers for 75% of the market value of an animal that died due to adverse weather conditions in excess of normal mortality. The rancher must have owned the livestock 60 days prior to the death, must provide county office with proof of beginning inventory, must provide us with proof of death, and then also provide us with some documentation showing good management practices. So what are some eligible adverse weather conditions? So unfortunately, drought is not an eligible event. Neither are poor management practices. If you just kind of throw your animals out on the range, never go check on them, never provide, see if they've got adequate water or feed, supplemental feed when necessary, that's not going to be eligible. Some weather events that are going to be eligible will be floods, blizzards, extreme cold, wildfires, extreme heat, and lightning, to name a few. So like I always tell all of my producers, when in doubt, contact your local FSA office and ask them, depending on if we did have a weather storm, it's better to ask and them tell you, no, I'm sorry, that drought isn't an eligible weather event versus you thinking that it's not eligible and then it was, and you're losing out on this program. So the other thing in order to be eligible is you've got to cross what we call the normal mortality threshold. And each state is going to be setting these normal mortality rates. So this is what we're looking at, what's approved in New Mexico. And how this works for this program is, let's take, for example, beef adult. It's 1.5%. What that means is if you've got 100 head of cows, and let's say you lose one to lightning in July, with that 1.5 normal mortality rate, what that's saying is that you're going to lose that percentage on a given year just because that's the nature of the ranching business. So you've got to cross that threshold before you're going to be eligible to get compensated for your animals. So like I said, if you lost a cow due to lightning strike in July, you're going to come in and you're going to report it. County office is going to say, okay, we can't pay you for that one, but we're going to document it. And if you have another weather event later on in the year, because you can file multiple notice of losses, let's say we had a freak winter storm in October that it dumped 6 feet of snow, you lost some cows because you couldn't bring them all in time. At that point, you're going to contact your local FSA office and say, okay, I lost 3 cows due to this freak blizzard that we had. At that point, you will have crossed the normal mortality rate and you will be eligible to get compensation. So like I said, you are required to file a notice of loss within 30 days of finding the deceased animal. Pre-COVID days, I would say you could just walk right into your county office, but unfortunately right now, most of our county offices, if not all, are closed to the public. So you can definitely call and report it within 30 days. You can email your county office, and you can also fax in the notice of loss reporting the animals that have died and the date of the weather event and what type of weather event that it was. Like I just said, you can file multiple notice of losses throughout the year. There is no limit on that. So like I said before, contact your office and kind of keep them in on what's going on, how many animals you've lost, what kind of weather events are going out in your county. And that way, you know, you possibly may be compensated and can cash in on this program. So this program, much like our other livestock disaster programs, runs on a calendar year. So by December 31st, that's going to be the last day to report losses for the 2020 year. Now we're going to give you 60 days to get all of your paperwork together and get into the office. So very important to understand that you've got to report your loss within 30 days, but then we're going to go ahead and give you up until 60 days after into the new year to get all your documentation into us. And what is that documentation, you might be asking? Like I said, we ask for you guys to prove your beginning and ending inventory. This is an example of some tax records that I have received from one of my producers. That's a really easy way for us to prove what your inventory was for the year that you're applying. A lot of my Native American groups, their tribal governments, they have grazing associations, and whether it's with their natural resources division or with the group itself, they do annual or sometimes it's multiple times through the year tally counts. We can also accept that as your beginning inventory records, as well as the other things that are listed on here. But those are the two that typically everybody can find really fast and provide to us without very much, too much digging on their part. The other thing that I had mentioned is we need proof of death. The easiest way is going to be dated pictures. And, most of us carry around our cell phones with us all the time. So that's what I tell my producers. Once you find the deceased animal, take a picture of it with your phone. It's going to automatically have a date stamp, the day that you took that on your cell phone, and then they can email or print it out and mail it to the county office. And we've got a date stamp verifying the date of the loss of the animal. And the other thing that we asked for that I had mentioned before was providing proof of good management practices. And that's going to be this contemporaneous producer record. The example that I've shown here is something that was supplemented to me from one of my ranchers, just their calendar pocketbook that they keep around. Things that you want to document, when you were checking fence, notating different weather events that were going on. If we're taking out supplements to them, if you had to take supplemental feed, all those kinds of things. We just want to make sure that you're doing the best, you're putting in the best effort to keep all of your animals alive. And unfortunately, Mother Nature threw you a curveball, depending on what type of weather activity, and you lost a lot of animals that you wouldn't have normally lost in any given year. So that's just an example of the things that we will be asking for from the county office when you apply. All right, the Emergency Assistance for Livestock Program. This program does also cover not just water hauling, but other types of feed losses and things of that nature that I'm not going to go into at this point. The biggest thing that I normally get, because we are in such a severe drought and in multiple states in the Southwest, I thought that this was a very important program for me to touch on, because I know it's become very important in my state here in New Mexico. So this is the program that we can compensate for livestock water hauling. To be eligible, the drought status in the county must be a D3 status according to the U.S. Drought Monitor, and the max that we will be compensating you for is 150 days. That is the most that you can get out of this program. So hopefully nobody is hauling for that long, but I know this year, the way that the drought has been, we probably will be having some producers in the Southwest that will be maxing out on this program. So here we are back to our wonderful U.S. Drought Monitor that we don't like to see these dark colors very often, but here's where we are right now. As you can see, yet again, all of the counties in New Mexico are eligible for livestock water hauling because we all have hit the D3 at some way, shape, or form. And just like the livestock forage program, the whole county doesn't have to be in that color. Even if just a little small portion of your county is in the D3, your county is eligible. So like I said, once your county hits for one day in the D3, now you're eligible for water hauling. So here's the nuts and bolts of how this program works. Like our other livestock programs, it runs on a calendar year. Once your county hits a D3 status, then you are eligible for water hauling. Any hauling that was done prior to your county going into a D3 status is not going to be eligible. So that's something that you need to notate, that unfortunately we can't go backwards, but from the day that the county became eligible, that's when you're going to be eligible through the rest of the year. Now, you need to report to your county office within 30 days of starting to haul water. And like I said before, unfortunately, we can't be doing any face-to-face interaction, but you can contact your office by phone, email. I know some of our county offices are doing some Zoom meetings so that you can visit with somebody face-to-face virtually if that's something that you want to do. But very important that you call us within 30 days of starting to transport the water. The deadline to apply for payment is going to be January 30th of 2021. So to be eligible, you needed to own livestock. You needed to own the livestock 60 days prior to hauling the water. The livestock need to be physically located in a county that is eligible. So this year in New Mexico, it's made it very easy for us because I do have several multi-county producers. So if you are running in different counties, it can get a little bit confusing because if one of the counties that you're in is not in an eligible D3 status, then you're not going to be eligible to haul water out there to those animals. You need to be transporting during an eligible grazing term. So like I said, if you've got a lease or a permit with somebody and it's only for a certain amount of time, maybe 6 months, 3 months, 9 months, we're only going to be able to help compensate you during that lease term. Okay, and when, once the county becomes eligible, you may only be on that lease for another 30 days. And that's just going to be the amount that we can compensate you for. Here's the big one. you needed to have an adequate livestock watering system or facility before the eligible drought occurred. Now, in my home state, and I know the other southwestern states, we have a lot of dirt stock tanks. So my ranchers have got these dirt stock tanks that are out on their rangeland that typically are going to catch snow and rain, and that's how they fill up, and that's how their animals get their water. Now, in the very severe drought years like we have been, there hasn't been enough snow and rainfall for those ponds to fill up enough for the animals. So the ranchers are then having to haul the water out there for their animals because like any living thing, they're going to need some water to drink. So all that we're asking is that you had something in place for other areas in the country. You know, if you've got streams or creeks running through your pasture lands, and that's the water source for your animals, that's fine. And if they dried up because of the drought, that would be eligible. But I do know that sometimes we do take on some pastures and there is no type of water facility out there. You know that when you sign the lease or the contract, and you're having to normally transport water out there because there is no water source, unfortunately, that's not going to be eligible for this program. So this is all drought related. So, you know, your water source had to have gone dry in order to be eligible for this program. It's not something that, you know, you normally have to do certain times of the year or just because your pasture has no water source. So I just want to really kind of hit on that and make that clear for everybody. So the things that we're going to be asking you guys to supply us with is going to be receipts, invoices, if you had to pay for water, if you had to hire somebody to help you haul the water, if you contracted it out, we will need a copy of all of those receipts. Also, what we are asking for are pictures of your livestock watering system or facility that went dry. Because we are in COVID and, you know, we are very limited to being able to go out into the field, even just do our normal business operations. This is going to help us out a lot by you taking a picture of, like I said, the water source that went dry and now you're having to haul water. So like I said, everybody typically has their cell phones or is with somebody that has a cell phone on hand. Take a quick picture. It's date stamped. We know, you know, you're proving to us that the water source went dry, and then you can go ahead and start hauling water out to your livestock. The other thing that we're going to need are reliable records. Here we go again with our contemporaneous records, producer diaries, and calendars. We just want to see some documentation as to when you started hauling your water. Were you going every day? How many gallons were you hauling every day? How many animals were you hauling to? These types of things that we're looking to be notated on some type of record whenever you turn it in to apply for your payment. So the other questions that we're going to be asking, things that we need to know are the actual number of gallons of water that were transported, and then also the number of eligible livestock that water was transported to. So, you know, we're going to want to know that you're hauling water out to 50 cows and 1 bull and, you know, 10 replacement heifers, things of that nature. We also want to know what type of method you used. Did you do it yourself? Did you have to hire labor, or did you contract it out? So those are all, you know, that's basically the nuts and bolts of water hauling under the ELAP program. All right, the Coronavirus Food Assistance Program 1.0. So this program, our sign up began May 26th and went until September 11th. As you can see, we were very busy nationally, and we paid out almost $10.5 billion in this program. For all you ranchers out there, these are the top 5. You guys were number 1 in receiving benefits at $5 billion. Our non-specialty crops were at $2.6 billion, and coming in third were our dairies at $1.7 billion. So not to fret if you didn't get in on CFAP 1, we now are taking sign up for CFAP 2, and we have expanded what's going to be eligible for this program. Now, I will say this, you need to put definitely some on this, because Friday is the deadline for this program. And if you're in any type of agriculture, I would ask you to definitely research this program, because more than likely you're going to be eligible. For my ranchers out there, CFAP 2, we are only compensating for the non-breeding livestock. And we're asking you to pick your highest inventory between April 16th and August 30th. So when you're going to apply, you're going to want to pick the day that you had the highest inventory between those 2 dates. So, for your non-breeding, that's going to typically be your calves, your steers, and any heifers that did not drop a calf by August 30th are going to be eligible. And we are doing sheep and pigs and different things too. It's not just going to be cattle. So you can look into that. We are covering all the commodities, dairies, broilers, eggs, fruits and vegetables, all types of things. So like I said, if you're in growing anything, I would highly recommend that you look into this program before Friday, because that is the deadline. Now, I am going to kind of brag on our national office and our county offices, because we are extremely busy right now. Can't keep up with the phones. Like I said, our offices are closed to the public, and we've got folks working from home, few that are in the office, kind of rotating in and out. Every state is a little bit different, but we are still cranking out the money. We have exceeded CFAP 1 in the number of applications that we've paid and the dollar amount that we've paid out on this. So my hat kind of goes off to our national office as well, because they have created a great website, farmers.gov/CFAP, that you can visit, and you can look up all the different kind of crops that are eligible for this program. And like I said, I'm going to say that we're probably covering about 90% of all of agriculture in this program. So whatever you're doing, please log on to this website, look at the crop finder. You can scroll through all the different crops, and it's going to tell you how you're going to get paid, because all of these crops are getting paid a little bit differently. Some of them are acre based, some of them are sales revenue based, other are yield based, production based, things of that nature. So like I said, our national office has done a great job putting together this website, because you can actually apply for this program online. You can find all the supplemental forms that we will require, because it's not just filling out the application, but there are a few eligibility forms that we're going to need you to fill out if you're going to be applying as an individual or as an entity. And then also all of our payments are done direct deposit, so that form can be found on this website. The other thing is, if you're not tech savvy, or you get on our website and you're a little bit overwhelmed, we have a FSA CFAP call center listed below. And that's just going to tell you how big this program has gotten, is that we have a call center just for our agency, just for one program. So these folks are really handy, that they can either help walk you through what's going on online if you get a little bit hung up there, or they can email you all of the forms and put you in touch with your local FSA office if you would like to go that route. So like I said, this program, the deadline is ending this Friday. So anybody that has not applied, you're interested in applying, you think you might be eligible, please visit our website or call the call center number that I've just listed. Get in touch with them before Friday. Don't wait till the last second, because like I said, our offices are pretty overwhelmed. Leave voicemails. They will be getting back in touch with you. That's what I tell my producers, because some days we just can't keep up with the phones. And, applications kind of start stacking up, and we're trying to get them out as soon as we possibly can. So please be patient with all of your local county offices. So here's the website that I was telling you guys about, farmers.gov. It's really a great tool for any farmer or rancher out there. Even if you're been doing this for a long time, it's a great resource for everybody. So as you can see, this is our homepage. Whenever you just type in www.farmers.gov, and if you're interested in CFAP, you can click on that link. Towards the middle of the page, what I think is really handy is it's going to list program deadlines. So this is not just for the coronavirus food assistance program, but it's going to list all of the Farm Service Agency deadlines that are coming up. Especially if you hit view all, it's going to probably take you well into the summer for all of the deadlines that may apply to you. You can also visit the Farm Loan Discovery tool, and that's going to kind of set you in motion for all the, if that's something that you're interested in doing. Like I said, CFAP2 Commodity Finder, that's the link that you're going to want to look to see if your crop is eligible for CFAP, and I almost bet that it is. So this is my contact information. I am a CED here in New Mexico. I don't know how many New Mexicans we've got on the line today, but you can feel free to always contact me with any questions, and I can set you in the right direction for somebody who may help you. You can always call my office for assistance. We would be glad to help you. And if we can't help you out of our county, we can put you definitely in the right direction of where to go. So with that, I guess we can open it up for questions. Let's see if I can answer any. If not, we will have to get back to you. But I don't know if we have any or not. If anybody was out there.
Thank you, Lisa. That was great. I love that. So much information. We do have some questions. There's a couple that I'll just clean up real quick. Like, if you did lose connection or you had some technical issues, we are recording every session, so we will get that out to you guys to watch at your convenience. So don't worry about that. And it says on here, maybe some youth were having problems logging on. I would advise maybe to reach out to Azalea, our professional development specialist that's working with you youth. She might be able to help you figure out what you need to do there. Now the rest are questions for you, Lisa. The first one is, can you apply for LFP online? I'm guessing there's some issues out there with some rural producers not being able to get to town or lockdown offices.
Unfortunately, we haven't gotten there yet. I'm thinking, like I said, with farmers.gov, CFAP, the coronavirus program is the only one right now that you can apply online with. But we do have different avenues that you don't necessarily have to go into your county office to apply. They can take down the information, email you the forms. We also have like a DocuSign software that we have been using that the producers, the county office can email you the forms. You can digitally sign them, and then they will get emailed back. Or do it old school, and I do it very often out of my office. Put the forms in the mail, get them to sign them, and mail them back to you.
Right. And then I'll just do a little shout out to, if you are looking for help for any applications, I do say Inter-Tribal Ag Council's technical assistance in your region might be able to get you the application, might be able to email it for you or help you with the DocuSign. Or, if you have a question on deadlines, feel free to reach out to those technical assistants here at IAC too for those kind of things. Another question is for ELAP. Do the receipts need to add up to the amount requested for payment? Guessing that has to deal with the water hauling.
Right. So the way that the payments are calculated are more based on the actual number of gallons that you're hauling for those days, up to 150 days. And then we're going to take the number of livestock that you're hauling to, and we've got a formula that we actually pay on the lesser of the two. We're just kind of verifying because if you do the hauling yourself, if you hire it out, and if it's contracted, there are 3 different payment rates. So it's just kind of keeping everything in line, and just kind of verifying that you're going to get paid on a higher rate if, like I said, if you transported yourself or hired, things like that. So we just want to verify that if you say that you contracted it out, that you did. That's what the receipts are kind of for.
Gotcha. Next, we have a CFAP question. If we applied the first time, can we apply the second time? And that is a yes, right? You got CFAP 1, yes. You can get CFAP 2.
Right, and a lot of people got confused because they were like, well, I applied the first time, I got to apply again? Yes, you have to apply again. So please, please, please get on that. Like I said, that one you can apply online. You can call the call center.
Time, right? When it comes to things, yeah.
Different dates, primarily for livestock. The first go round, we were paying for cows and bulls, sold animals. And this time it's very limited. We're just paying for non-breeding between April 16th and August 30th, your highest inventory between those dates.
So like your market livestock from that April till now, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. And then our next one is, so for cover crops like turnips with orchid grass, is there coverage for that? I'm guessing that has to deal with NAP.
Okay, so grass, yes. That for your orchard grass, I believe is what the question was. That deadline was December the 1st. So like I said, if you haven't got it, please get in touch with your local office ASAP, because there are some late file provisions that will hopefully allow for you to get in on that. Turnips, I am not seeing that on my list, but I do know that, or it might be, let me see. Yes, actually, that deadline, we do cover turnips. So for the 2021 growing season, that deadline is April 15th of 2021. So you got a little bit of time, but definitely contact your local office. And then that crop is eligible to buy up your coverage if that's something that you're interested in doing.
Gotcha. So for those people that are doing a lot of cover crops, mixing, vegetables with grasses, is there somewhere they can go to look up to see if they're covered?
So on farmers.gov, I believe there is a link there. And like I said, if you hit that deadline portion, upcoming deadlines, if you hit view all, it's going to start listing everything in there. And then you can kind of click into the NAP program and it's going to start bringing things up.
Perfect. And we have another one, the squash bugs, I guess were bad this year, they said, and they're wondering if this is a qualifying item for crop loss. So for extra, pests like that, is that a crop loss?
So for NAP, it's all got to be weather related. We've got to be able to link it back to some type of weather event. So if we can link it back, let's say to drought, that because we are in a severe drought, that's going to bring out this certain kind of bug, then yes, it would qualify. But that's it. Kind of can get a little bit technical there. Sometimes it's a little bit of a gray area, but always remember with NAP, we've got to relate it back to some type of adverse weather event going on in the county.
Gotcha. Sounds good. And then a couple questions. So for someone who has never dealt with FSA before, because you need to have have your farm in FSA to qualify these programs first. There's some extra steps they may have to do. Can you kind of explain that?
Right. So for everything that I talked about today, besides CFAP, you will need to get established a farm and track number. And what that is we need to verify where the land is that you're operating on, whether that's farming or ranching. We basically have kind of like a Google Earth that we go in and we map out and we say, okay, this is, Joe Farmer, he's got these 10 acres of land and he's going to be farming chili on that this year. And we assign that to you. And then we ask you to certify your acres. And then also there, like I said, there are a few other forms. There's a form that we ask you to fill out, and this is going to be for CFAP as well. And all of these forms, they are very handy. They're on our farmers.gov website, but there's a form that we ask you to fill out, name and address, social security number, telephone number, contact information to get you loaded into the database. And then we have the average adjusted gross income form. That form is just asking if 3 tax years, if you grossed over 500,000, if you were over or under. We also have you fill out your erodible land conservation form. Let me see what else, a farm operating plan, and then also your direct deposit form. So all of those forms that I just mentioned, besides the acreage certification, those can all be found on farmers.gov under the CFAP link as to how to apply. And then even if you call the call center, they can email those to you or get those over to you. The one kind of fast track on the CFAP program is we're not asking you to come in and do a farm and track unless, there is a one catch, unless you are applying for any of our acre-based crops. And that's going to be more, it's not going to be any of our fruits and vegetables, but it's going to be more of our commodity-based and forage-based crops. So like I said, we are covering so many crops and they're all getting paid a little bit differently. But for the most part, for CFAP, that's, we're trying to get this money out as fast as we can to our farmers and ranchers because just like all other businesses, coronavirus has really put a hit on us. So for the most part, CFAP, you shouldn't have to worry about the farm and track and ownership docs, but for all of our other programs, you are going to have to provide those land control documents and then fill out, it's probably 4 to 5 other forms. Not anything too heavy, definitely can go pretty fast.
Great information. I also do want to give a shout out to FSA in general on CFAP in the state of South Dakota. They were great. It was the fastest, most efficient program I think FSA's ever put out. So I was really impressed with how well that worked so far. And from what I can see, I think we got all the questions answered. If you guys do have other questions, please feel free to reach out. Have a relationship with your local FSA county office and have a relation with your local TA for IAC. We have information that we can share as well. So I do want to give a big thank you again to the sponsors of the IAC conference. This session was sponsored by our Champions of Native Agriculture. So thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate it. It was great information.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. Hopefully next year we can do it a little bit more personally, face-to-face, but it was great. Like I said, anybody out there, feel free to give me a call or email me if you do have any questions. If I can't answer it or you're not in my state, we can definitely set you in the right direction. So thanks again, everybody.
Yep, and I do want to remind the next session will start at 1 o'clock Mountain Time. You have to get off this one and click on the new link to enter the next session. Thanks, everybody.